Hello my beautiful friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Liv if you're new here, and welcome to the first TBR of 2024. My mind still has not fully grasped that we are in a new year, we are in a new era. I turn 30 in just a couple weeks, so there's that. Of course, we're going to start off the year with a good old TBR because who doesn't love a TBR? I have curated this list very specifically because I am aiming for a 5-star reading month. Now, when I'm filming this, I've already read my first book of the year, which is Ruthless Vows, and I gave it 5 stars. So we are already off to a great start. But like I said, I've curated this list to be so picky with this TBR because I'm aiming for a 5-star month. We just want to start out strong. As you will probably quickly notice, most of these are fantasy reads, and if you know my goals at all or anything I've talked about recently, I've really wanted to get back to my roots kind of the fantasy world. I feel like I've been gone so much from that genre, just experimenting a lot in 2023 to see what I loved, and I'm thankful for that, but also it was kind of like an up and down year. So this year we are aiming for those good 5-star reads. I'm doing my TBRs a little bit differently this year, not anything super drastic. We are bringing back reading wrap-ups, which I'm very excited about. I did get a really cool, nice reading journal that literally tracks every single page I read every single day, and I think that's going to be a really fun way to kind of wrap things up each month. But as far as TBRs, we're obviously going to talk about my book club, the other book clubs or readathons that I'm participating in. I'm also going to go back to a TBR jar, and in that TBR jar is going to be my 24 books that I want to read in 2024. But I'm not going to be choosing just one book and forcing myself to read that because there are 12 months in the year and we have 24 books. I'm going to be choosing 2 of those books and keeping those both on my TBR cart throughout the month and just kind of pick and see what my mood is feeling and just not force myself to read anything that I don't want to read. If I know right off the bat which one I'm in the mood for, I will pick that one, but I am just going to keep those 2 on my cart at all times during the month so I can just kind of feel it out and see what I have time for. I also am not going to be doing quarterly releases anymore. I'm going to be dedicating a section of each TBR video to the books that are coming out that month that I will be purchasing or that will be in my TBRs. But that way you kind of get a quick glance of some of the highly anticipated reads I have every single month instead of just a giant video for each quarter. Hopefully that's helpful for you. I'm not sure, but if you miss a book or you forgot a book is coming out, hopefully that will be a really good reminder. Other than that, I'm not going to be doing any type of crazy challenges for my TBR. I'm definitely a mood reader, as you guys know, but I am excited to kind of section things off or have different segments in my TBRs just so you guys know what to expect, and also so I don't forget anything that I'm supposed to be reading or that I want to be reading. Another big thing that you may or may not notice is last year I basically allowed myself to put 20 books on each TBR. I would keep those 20 books on my TBR cart and just grab and choose what I wanted to read when I felt like reading it. But this year I'm really trying to narrow down to like 10 books per month. I don't give myself a huge option to, you know, read a bunch of random things. I curate it to the point where I know or expect all of them to be 5 stars or at least really love them. So you can probably expect my TBRs to be a little bit shorter in the new year because I'm really just trying to hone in on the things I know I'm going to love. So without further rambling, let's just go ahead and dive into the first books that I'm going to be reading this year. First things first, I always like to talk about my personal book club because it's like my baby. It's called the Tea Time Society. If you've never heard of it before, you can join for only $3 a month. You can join a live discussion. You have access to a Discord channel, and let me just say the women over there are so incredible and and so sweet. They literally say good morning to each other every morning, and it's just so sweet, so incredible. I legit have the best community over there. Everyone's so thoughtful and so sweet. I'm not trying to purposefully hype myself up here, but it's because of you guys that make it such a fun community. So if you've never checked it out, you can definitely check out my Patreon in the description. But for the very first month of the year, I'm so excited to be starting us off with A Fragile Enchantment by Allison Saft. I have never read anything by this author, but I kind of knew it was gonna win for the vote. I had a couple other wintry fantasies, and even though this one looks very like spring and cottagecore, I think it's still going to be such a fun read. This one is a brand new young adult fantasy book, and the only thing I know about this is our main character is able to weave memories into clothing. She's basically like a seamstress, and I think she ends up falling in love with like someone from the royal family. This is giving me almost like fairy tale kind of Bridgerton vibes, and that just makes me so incredibly excited. I've been seeing amazing reviews of this one. I did get an arc of it, and I have not had the chance to read it yet, so I'm excited to finally read this copy, but also to discuss with you all for the month of January. Another fun thing that I'm going to be doing over on my Patreon in the next 4 months is we're going to be doing a Hunger Games read-along and watch-along. Ever since the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes came out, it has just re-sparked my love and honestly huge obsession for this series. I have such great memories and nostalgic feelings of being in high school and going to the midnight premieres and just being so obsessed with this world and Katniss and Peeta and the romance, and just everything about this series just brings me back to high school. I will say Catching Fire is still my favorite movie, but Songbirds and Snakes kind of comes close to that. I think I liked the movie almost better than the book, which is saying a lot. But honestly, I just wanted to start this year off with a bang, and why not start it off with a reread of a book you know you already love? Can I say obsessed enough? Probably not. But my love for this series runs as high as like my love for Harry Potter, which is big. So I probably don't talk about that enough on my channel, but I'm so excited to finally read one a month of these with you all and tab it and annotate it, and we're just going to be discussing all things Hunger Games on Discord. But the way I've planned this out is the last Friday of every month we're going to be watching one of the movies, and of course there's 2 parts to Mockingjay, so we're going to be watching both of those in 1 month. But if you are interested in this at all, you can still only join the $3 tier and be a part of the book club and this read along, and it's just going to be the best time ever. And to continue to fuel my Rebecca Ross obsession at the moment, I'm going to be reading Dreams Lie Beneath. Not because I want to read this book for myself, but my friend Kendall over at Bookphoria also has a Patreon monthly book club, and this is her pick for January, and I am so excited about this. This is about a family of magicians, I believe, that can somehow go into other people's dreams. I don't know much about it, but that right there sounds intriguing to me. I'm kind of going into this one blind, but this one also has great reviews. It's also a standalone fantasy, which is even better. And it's Rebecca Ross, of course. So I'm very, very, very excited to finally read this one. I'm honestly anticipating it to be another 5 stars. Next, we're going to be choosing from the 2024 mug, which I am very nervous about. I actually have 1 or 2 of these books on my January TBR already, so there are double the chances that I will actually read them. I think the purple is fantasy, the pink is romance, and I think the green is just like miscellaneous or thrillers. I honestly cannot remember, but we're just gonna go ahead and pick 2 out of this mug. No pressure, first month out of the year, here we go. Okay, we have purple, which I do know is fantasy. Uprooted by Naomi Novik. Ooh, I honestly am not in the mood to read this one. I already have so many other big fantasy books on my list right now, and I can probably guarantee I will not be reading this one. So let's hope whatever I choose next is a little bit easier. Okay, we are just gonna pick this one off the top. It's pink, so probably means romance, I believe. Oh boy. After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Okay, I'm so excited about this one. I have been dying and itching to get into another Taylor Jenkins read, so I think this is probably gonna be the choice of the month. I feel like next to Daisy Jones, this one does come very highly recommended. I will always love One True Loves, but this one is about a couple who decides to like take a year off of their marriage and nothing is off limits, but then they're hoping that when they come back together after a year, their love will be even stronger. I'm really hoping there's no tropes in this that I hate. I hope Taylor Jenkins Reid really approaches this in a good way. I've heard that it's made a lot of people emotional and just appreciate their own marriage even more, so that's what I'm hoping this book does for me. But yay, I think I'm actually going to end up reading this one, and we are off to a great start. Okay, the next section of this video, we are very quickly going to touch on, I think, 5 books that are coming out this month that I will definitely be purchasing. Maybe not reading them, but they are coming out this month, and I've been very excited to get my hands on them. Of course, we have to start out with House of Flame and Shadow, which is Crescent City 3. This comes out on January 30th, right after my birthday. I was really hoping it would come out on my birthday this year, but that's okay. I will definitely be at the store buying this one as soon as possible, and I will be starting it the same day it comes out. I'm going to clear out my calendar. We're not going to have any other plans that week, but reading through this book because I have to know what happens. I'm so excited, but I'm also so scared because we all know Sarah J. Maas cannot be trusted. So even though I'm very excited about this, I'm also like kind of anxious to see the outcome of the series. The next book on my list is called City of Stardust by Georgia Summers, and can we appreciate this stunning cover? I love this so much. It also comes out January 30th, but it says a young woman descends into a seductive, magical underworld of power-hungry scholars, fickle gods, and monsters bent on revenge to break her family's curse. It's a debut book, and it's also more like a contemporary fantasy. So I'm hoping that means there aren't going to be a lot of politics involved, but I do love this like underworld kind of vibe that we're getting, and I don't know, I'm always willing to give a debut author a try, and this one already has really great reviews from what I'm seeing. It also kind of reminds me of Alex E. Haro and Laini Taylor a little bit. We also have The Fury, which is coming out, I believe, January 16th, but if you got it from Book of the Month like I did, it's probably already in your hands. This is also going to be one of my friend's book club picks. My friend Rachel is running a thriller book club called No Body, No Crime. So if you guys are interested at all in mystery, thrillers, true crime, definitely join her book club over there. It's going to be so much fun. She's doing sprints and live discussions, and it's just going to be the best time because I need to get into more mystery thrillers. I have heard that this one is his best one yet, so I'm very eager to dive into this, especially because I'm going to need like a good palate cleanser from all these big fantasy books I'm about to tell you guys about. So yeah, this one is very short, but I hope it's going to pack a punch. We also have No One Can Know by Kate Alice Marshall that is coming out. I love these colors on the cover. I'm going to be doing a Read the Rainbow challenge this year, and this is going to be the prompt for my favorite color or colors. But regardless, I'm excited just to get another Kate Alice Marshall. I'm hoping to read What Lies in the Woods before I get to this one. I do love her creepy young adult stuff, so if she includes any of that creep factor into her thrillers, I think it's gonna make for a pretty good 5 stars, hopefully. And last but not least, we have Everyone on This Train is a Suspect by Benjamin Stevenson, I believe. I read Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone last year. It was just a really fun time. I will say there was way too many characters. I feel like that kind of took away from the story, but this one is already giving me like Murder on the Orient Express vibes, and if that is the case, then I'm probably gonna love this one too. So I'm very excited to see what he has up his sleeve. If you like the typical murder mystery kind of Agatha Christie style of eliminating suspects, but also if you love some really good humor, kind of dry humor, but also it's just really laugh out loud funny, if you like that kind of story, definitely check this guy out. I feel like his first book was really underrated, and I'm hoping to finally get to the second one, and maybe that will kind of motivate other people to pick up the first one. Again, those are not all necessarily books that I'm adding to my immediate TBR, but they are going to be books that I buy, I pick up, and probably reading them sooner rather than later. But the rest of these books are just some really high on my list fantasy books. I also have like a graphic novel and a nonfiction, but the very top priority book on this list for the month has to be Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. You guys are probably thinking, Olivia, haven't you already read that book? And listen, I started it a couple years ago when it first came out, I loved the like original trilogy. I knew this was going to be a spin-off. I started reading it. It was a lot more spicy than I expected it to be, and I was not used to reading that whatsoever. So we're going to give this a second go because I love Cassian, but I do want to finally catch up on her books this year. I want to make her books last because they're just so incredible. She's one of my favorite authors and I need to give this one a second try. So that's what we're doing. It is like a 30 something hour audio, so I will probably be doing a lot of diamond painting while I listen to this one. I also have Foxglove by Adeline Grace on this list. Belladonna is very fresh in my head. It's one of the last books that I read of 2023, and I'm a series binge girly. If I do not get my hands on the next book, I will not finish the series, and quite honestly, my memory's so terrible that I will forget everything about the story, have to watch a recap, that it's best that I just go ahead and continue on with series. And I'm also just trying to complete series in the new year. I know we still have to wait for Wisteria, but that just makes me even more excited to get to this one, especially with that cliffhanger that Belladonna was. It's just a really cool, interesting take on your typical romantic fantasy because she kind of falls in love with death, who isn't like necessarily like a real person. He's immortal, but yeah, there's just so many cool elements to this story. It's pretty creepy and I cannot wait to get to this one. Next, we have Assistant to the Villain, and what made me put this on my immediate TBR is my friend Kendall said this was her favorite book that she read last year, like top #1. We have such similar taste and I'm really trusting her on this one. I don't know much about it at all, but it's kind of giving me like cozy fantasy vibes, but kind of like Princess Bride in a way. And I've heard the frog in this is like really funny and she just assists him, I guess. I don't really know, but I know a lot of people are like dying to get the second book because apparently this has a really crazy cliffhanger. I'm just very excited to get into a new fantasy world that's funny, that's easy to fly through, and that just makes me fall in love immediately. Next, we have Tress of the Emerald Sea. I'm sure you can see a pattern here. There's lots of big fantasy books and series I'm trying to get through, but this one I really wanted to squeeze into my fall TBR last year and didn't get to it. And I've heard it's like Princess Bride with pirates, and that's all I need to know. I really loved Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. Didn't get the chance to finish it. I would love to try it again. I also really loved Skyward, but I didn't love Mistborn. So I'm hoping that this one falls on the spectrum of me like loving it, but this one sounds so cute. There's like tea and just other cozy elements to it, and I feel like it's a little bit lower stakes than your typical like adult political fantasy. At least that's what I'm hoping for, so we will see how this goes. Next, I have Caraval. Yes, I'm going to be starting another fantasy series when I probably don't need to. I haven't actually tallied up the amount of series I'm in the middle of, but I just know it's a lot. This one, people have been telling me to read for actual years. So this is going to be the month that I finally read this book. I know I'm going to want to binge the rest of the series, so I can guarantee the other two will probably be on my February TBR. My knowledge is close to none on this, and that's the way I'm keeping it because I have not been spoiled yet, and that's an amazing thing because this series has been around for a long time. So here is to the month and hopefully the year that I finally get to read a Stephanie Garber book. I know I said my TBRs were going to be getting shorter, but I had to add this one last book on my list because I'm so angry that I didn't finish it last year, and that is Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree. This is going to be the perfect wintry cozy book. I already know it. I'm starting to see people say they're not loving it as much as Legends and Lattes. If it's giving me like cozy fun vibes, I will pick it up. I will read it. I love the way Travis Baldree writes. I literally can't wait to see what else he has up his sleeve because I'm sure it's going to be amazing. It's basically about this orc who stops fighting and she moves to this small town and she starts a coffee shop, and there's like this cute little mouse and other friends that help her keep up with the shop, and she introduces all these people to coffee. I think they call it bean water or something. It's just so cute and so heartwarming, and I don't know how you can love the series. Now that I have finally organized my shelves again, my office space is very clean. I am going to be showing that in a yearly reset vlog that should be coming up next week, I believe. I'm kind of taking this month slow at my own pace, but ever since I've organized my books, it's been really fun to kind of see the manga and graphic novels that I own that I haven't read yet, and I actually have more than I thought I did, and I really want to incorporate those more in my monthly TBRs, and obviously it helps you accomplish your Goodreads goal. So for this one, the #1 book I'm going to be getting to is volume 4 of Lore Olympus. For some reason I thought I'd already read this and just hadn't bought volume 5 yet, but no, I have not read this one. And honestly, #3 was my favorite of the series so far. If you don't know anything about this, it's kind of like a modern retelling of Hades and Persephone, but there's also so many other Greek gods in this, and it's a romance if you can't tell from the cover. I have gotten sucked right into this world, and it's just been such a fun ride. So I'm excited to read this one. I think I'm gonna buy volume 5 and finally just dive back into the series. And last, I promise it's the last book, but definitely not least, I'm incorporating a Christian nonfiction to all of my monthly TBRs again. Aside from my daily Bible reading, I think it's just really refreshing and very encouraging and uplifting to see kind of the Bible through other people's lenses, and maybe pick a Christian nonfiction that is going over a certain topic that's helpful or helps me process maybe something I'm going through. But for this month, I chose Paul David Tripp's Reactivity: How the Gospel Transforms Our Actions and Reactions. I'm just gonna read a little bit of the front of this to you, but I will say that he mainly talks about social media and how toxic of a place it can be, and how we can glorify God on that platform without being a part of the toxic online culture. I did already start this, so I don't have it in the book sleeve. How can Christians communicate biblically in a culture of outrage? Paul David Tripp presents a biblical framework for communication around values including selflessness, limits, and dignity. Demonstrating how to view digital media through the lens of the gospel, he encourages believers to become beacons of light in an age of toxicity. Just from the chapter titles in this book, it's going to explore so many different topics, not just social media, but the ways in which we react with our emotions, our lifestyle, the people we interact with. I have read so many of Paul David Tripp's books, and I've loved each and every one. They've been so impactful, and I thought, what better way to start the year than reading a book that is mainly talking about like digital kind of social media. So I think this is going to be perfect for the first read of the year. I also do have a little group on Discord through my Patreon where we have a bunch of Christian ladies where we share prayer requests, or we just talk about the one nonfiction book that I chose. So if you're also interested in any of that, you can go ahead and check out my Patreon. Alright, my beautiful friends, there you have it. That is my massive, pretty big TBR to start out the year, but like I said, I'm hoping to kind of slowly narrow it down and really pick just a good 8 to 10 books that I know for sure I'm going to be reading. But of course, some of those books are just reminders to you guys of the books that are coming out within the month, and of course some that I'll probably be putting on future TBRs. Apologies for this TBR being a little bit late, but honestly, I have still been kind of burned out since fall, and I'm just kind of taking content and creating as I'm in the mood for it, as I feel like doing it, when the creativity actually sparks. I've just been easing into the first month of this year slowly and doing what makes me happy. Not that filming doesn't make me happy, but I've just needed a little bit more of an extra break, so hopefully you guys don't mind. I'm excited to talk more about my intentions and goals in a yearly reset vlog. There's definitely going to be some little small changes coming here and there, but nothing major. I've got a channel rebrand kind of in the works, which I'm very excited about. But thank you guys so incredibly much for watching this video and being here with me for another year. Before you leave this video, go ahead and tell me what your #1 book that you have finished already or that you're planning to finish for the new year is. I'm crossing my fingers it's a 5 stars for you. Thanks again for watching. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in my next video.